Of all the individual elements that make up your website, I would say that none is more important than your homepage headline, right? It's usually the first thing any new visitors see, and it has a really big job to do. In short, it tells people whether or not they're even gonna bother sticking around and learning anything more. So if you get it wrong and you don't give them a reason to stay, your headline's the first and probably the last thing they're ever gonna see from your business. So in this video, I'm gonna break down 7 common homepage headline mistakes that I see all the time, and how to fix them using 3 really simple formulas that I've developed over many years of creating websites for small businesses. When you apply these formulas correctly, you'll be super clear in communicating your real value and help pull people down your homepage where they can get all the rest of the info they need to convert into paying customers. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a really simple trick you can use to be super persuasive in your headline while still working in your SEO keywords without having to compromise too much. It's one of my favorite little known tactics that I think you're gonna love. So first of all, let's talk about what makes for a really strong homepage headline. The most important thing is it needs to paint a crystal clear picture of what you do and why that's something that your customers or clients need. In other words, you need to let them know what's in it for them. And the other important thing to keep in mind here is your headline should be based on the biggest overall desire or problem that your ideal customer has. So take this headline, for example, Boston's #1 CrossFit gym. Does that tell people what they do? Yeah, I'd say so. Does it say why it's important? Not really. And does it address a problem or a desire that their clients are likely to have? Nope. Because here's the thing, guys, nobody's desire is a gym, right? Their desire is to get in shape. So I think this headline does a much better job. Get into the best shape of your life. We're a CrossFit studio specializing in group workouts that get you lasting results. So notice what I've done here. I've paired that headline with a subheadline. So this is what I like to do about 99% of the time. Specifically, I like to make a big, bold statement with the main headline, and then add more clarity and context with the subheadline. So another way of looking at it would be use your big headline to say what you do, then the subheadline should say how you do it. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to quickly introduce you to my 3 headline writing formulas, and then we're going to actually apply them to some real headlines that you guys have submitted from your own websites right here on YouTube. I basically picked out 7 of them that each represent a common headline writing mistake that I see a lot, so that you can see how we can take those mistakes and turn them into something way better using my simple formulas. And you can use any of these right out of the box to get on the right track, starting with the one I would say is the most powerful, which is Formula 1, show the transformation. So this kind of headline works great if you're a business that actually does transform your customer's life in a meaningful way, like in our CrossFit example. Or if you're an interior designer or a landscaper, in that case, you're transforming someone's home for the better. So the message you basically want to use here is along the lines of, we'll take you from blank to blank. And don't worry, I'm gonna have a great example of this for you in a few minutes. Okay, Formula 2, state the problem you solve. So maybe you don't really make a transformation for your customers per se, but you do solve a very real problem for them. Think of a locksmith or an attorney, for example. And Formula 3 is what you can use when all else fails. Simply state what you do and why it matters. Because sometimes simplicity works great, especially if those other 2 formulas just don't feel right for your business. I will say though, if you can possibly stress a transformation or a problem solved, I would always stick to that. That's always going to be more powerful than just saying what you do. So now let's move on to those common mistakes that you'll definitely want to avoid in your headline. So we're going to look at each one of them, and then I'll rewrite it using one of the formulas that I just went over so you can see it all in action for yourself. Okay, so my first mistake is being mysterious. So Ronald Milner submitted his site, which is goboodle.com. So let's take a look at this headline, which reads, "Your financial education starts right now." Now, when you see this, Do you have a crystal clear picture about what this company does? Sure, we do get that it has to do with the overall general realm of financial education, but what does that mean, right? I had to do some serious digging around this website to figure it out. And it turns out they do offer individual and group coaching, teaching people basically how to manage their own investment portfolios. So knowing that they transform their students into essentially their own money managers, I think this is a natural fit for Formula One. So check out the headline and subheadline I wrote for Boodle instead. Financial tips, secrets, and strategies to become your own money manager. Individual and group coaching workshops that teach you how to build, manage, and grow your portfolio and outperform 70% of money managers. Now, I got a lot of those points right from their own website, but they were buried. These are things that need to be in your face as soon as somebody gets to your website. So a little bit of mystery might be good on a first date, but not on someone's first time on your homepage. Okay, so the second headline mistake I see is too clever for your own good. Now, clever writing isn't necessarily a bad thing on its own, but it is when you're replacing a clear and persuasive message with, wordplay that doesn't really say anything important. I got a submission from Cam, a fellow Chicagoan, who submitted her site, bluetifuldesign.com. So let's take a look at her headline, which reads, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." Now, this is very cute and all, and it does go on to strike a comparison between what she's all about as a designer to what Mr. Rogers was all about on his show. But all of that, I would say, is probably better off going on to an about page instead of the homepage, because this statement on its own doesn't tell me anything about what you do or the difference you make for your clients. So again, I had to scour the site for elements that I could use in a much more direct headline that still felt like it kept her voice intact. So here's what I came up with for Cam. We'll turn what makes you special into what makes you memorable. Logo and branding campaigns designed to connect you with your best customers. Now, this is another example of Formula One where we emphasize the transformation. So we're going to make you and your business memorable. Then in the subheadline, we say how we're going to do that through your logo and your branding connecting you with your customers. Okay, now our next mistake is being the copycat. Now, I'm not talking here about plagiarizing word for word. You obviously don't want to do that. That goes without saying. But what I'm talking about here is more just using a headline that looks and feels all too familiar just because everyone else more or less is saying the same basic thing. In other words, it falls into that realm of cliche. And the problem with headlines like this is that if they've heard it all before many times, it's going to just go in one ear and out the other, and your chances of being remembered at that point are pretty slim to none. So this next example was submitted by Ernest, and his website is webernest.com, and his headline says, "Boosting brands through digital design. Need a website or brand identity that helps you grow your business?" Now, is this bad? No, it's not bad. It's just an idea and wording that just about every digital agency is using. So if you're going to tell people that your designs are going to boost their business, you need to be more specific about that. And I think I want to use Formula 2 to fix this one. So remember, Formula 2 tells the problem you solve. So what I came up with is a pretty website isn't enough to get results for your business. We specialize in websites that go well beyond design alone with a focus on clear messaging, seamless user experience, and solid customer attraction strategies. Notice how this headline paints a picture of the problem. You want real results, but a pretty website won't help. But we can help, and then here's how. Okay, our next mistake is one I see a lot because we all know our own niche and our own industry so well, we can tend to talk over their head using either inside jargon or technobabble, right? So Adam Siepker submitted his website, orcachat.com. So let's see the before headline. Build customer confidence, conversions, satisfaction using our peer-to-peer chat. Now, I do know a lot about digital marketing, and this one threw me a little bit because I was confused by the overall concept here. And I think that's just because this is such a new idea, right? What they offer is a chat feature that you put on your website, but with a twist. Rather than the chat going to you and your team, your future customers are put into contact with past customers, letting them get on the chat and do the selling for you, which is a really cool idea, but because it's so new, it needs a really clear explanation. So in this case, I opted to be super direct with formula number 3, where we just flat out say what we do and why that's a good thing. So the new headline says, live chat that connects your website visitors with your happiest customers. And then I just kept the subheading exactly the same because I think this all works very well together. So by replacing that semi-technical jargon of saying peer-to-peer chat and just saying what it does, I think people are going to get the gist much quicker. Okay, moving right along to our next mistake, leaving them hanging. Now, I love me an intriguing question or a big bold statement headline, but if it's gonna work, it needs to resolve itself with some actual clarity. And guess what? People are not going to scroll down the page to get that clarity and figure it out, so it needs to all happen in that headline and subheadline. And Sue Smith submitted her site, emergingadultcounseling.com, and her headline simply reads, "Are you ready for adulting?" A great question, and this would work amazingly well if it went a little further and let us in on what she means. So this is kind of like a joke without a punchline. So I actually don't even want to replace this headline so much as just add to it. So keeping the exact same headline, I'm just going to add the subheadline that says individual counseling, support groups, and group classes teaching young adults to overcome anxiety and the critical skills to thrive in the adult world. Now again, I had to do some digging around the website to figure out that this is what they actually do, and a lot of this verbiage is taken right from the site itself. So this is a great example of Formula 1, again, where we emphasize the transformation that we make for our clients. In this case, through our counseling, support groups, and classes, we're going to be transforming young adults into full-on adults by teaching them all the skills that they need to cope and thrive. Okay, so remember all those inspirational posters that used to be really popular back in, I think it was in the 90s. Actually, this still does live on today. You just have to search hashtag inspirational quotes on Instagram and you'll have all the platitudes you can handle. And while these might get you some attention on Instagram, vague platitudes are a surefire miss when it comes to homepage headlines. So John Ting sent in his website, immigrationlawfirmhouston.com, along with his headline, which starts with, "Your life changes here." Now, while this may be accurate, and we do actually get a clear picture about what they do with the rest of the headline, it all just feels a bit clunky to me. So let's see what we can do about it and focus this into something much more solid. And I think Formula 2 is going to be best here, emphasizing the problem that they solve. So what about immigration issues can be complicated? We make it easy. Whether you need a green card or a visa, our skilled attorneys will guide you through the entire immigration process safely to the other side. So we very clearly laid out what the problem is, which is complicated immigration issues, and we make the claim that we make it easy, then clarify that by letting them know we're a law firm specializing in green cards and visas, and that we'll guide them through the entire process. Okay, now what about the headline that isn't really even interested in making an impression on your prospects, but has a much more utilitarian purpose instead? I am talking about something that I see way too often, which is the obvious SEO play. And I get it, you want to get people to your site, and optimizing your website for Google searches seems like a layup, right? But the problem is, once you start digging into what you need to be doing to make SEO work for you, you get a lot of advice that tells you to put your keywords in your headline and put your city name in there too, and then maybe put the city next door in too. And before you know it, you've got a headline that's a bit of a mess. It's clunky and it has zero persuasion power. So I actually got quite a few submissions that I would put in this category, but let's take a look at pharopest.com. Their headline reads, "Professional pest control exterminator servicing Morris, Warren, and Sussex County in New Jersey." So I get that you want that SEO power, so I'm actually going to give you a suggestion here that doesn't throw that all out the window while helping you communicate more effectively with your actual human clients. So again, I'm going to go with formula number 2, all about the problem you solve. So let's go with the headline: "Will protect your home and your family from unwanted pests. Professional pest control and exterminator services in Morris, Warren, and Sussex County, New Jersey." This headline does a much better job of emphasizing the actual problem that your client's facing, because this is important to know, guys. Nobody wants extermination services. What they want is to feel safe and clean inside their own home. So by emphasizing their home and their family, this does a much better job at letting them know that you get what's important to them. And I've preserved all the SEO stuff in the subheadline, mostly because in a case like this, for an exterminator service, people, they understand the concept of extermination. There's not a whole lot of explanation needed in this particular case. Plus, this would fall into the category of being a more emergency-based service, meaning by the time they're on your website, they're kind of more or less ready to pull the trigger. So I think having a more utilitarian subheadline is just fine in this case. And I did promise you a clever little SEO trick that you can use for your headline and subheadline. So normally for maximum SEO impact, you want to use your keywords and your city name in your big headline, what we call the H1 tag. Well, here's the thing. Any piece of text on your website can be your H1. There's nothing saying that it has to be the big headline at the top of your page. So if SEO is a priority, what I want you to do is use your big headline to make the big bold promise, then add your keywords to the subheadline. Then simply designate the big headline as an H2 and your subhead as the H1. It's super simple, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it that way. Now, as you can see from all our examples, there's more to the story of how to use that top section of your homepage to entice people to keep going down your page. There's the background image, there's the call to action button, and overall design to think about too. So I created this video where I make over real website headline sections, including the images, for maximum impact. So just click right here to jump over to that video, and you can see even more great before and after examples. So click right here, and I'll see you there in just a second.